And while you are idle, you can always share it. Good to go. Good, very good. We are live and we are happy and live on our blockchain weekend 6. Welcome to one and all on the sixth edition of our blockchain e-weekends. My name is Shantanu Sharma and I'll be your host for the evening. Uh, like always, every weekend we have a different theme altogether, and every theme is aimed at understanding a perspective of a particular subject within the entire gamut of blockchain and cryptocurrencies all across the world. So today the topic is the evolution of DApps. I'm sure you guys know that decentralization or decentralized applications are the in thing right now, but are we really going in the right direction? Do we really have the wherewithal of making good applications or not? Where are we at current and where are we looking at in the future? So that's what the perspective is that we want to bring out from our guest speakers here. And just to introduce our guest speakers, we have Apoor Shankar. All right, he is looking after the entire product development and entire technology at Inblocks Me. Thank you, Apoor, for being around. I hope you
Thanks.
have a fantastic evening with us. And all the way from Netherlands, I have Bernd Oostrom. Hi, Bernd. Welcome back
Hi.
on to the Inblocks events air meet as such. And good to have you again. Been a long while when we've spoken. So, guys, Bernd is the co-founder and CEO of the Sure and is working. Right now, he's in Netherlands, but no, he's craving to come back to India and to Bangalore. Welcome, Bernd, once again.
Thank
And
you.
last but not least is Rahul Prabhu. Hi, Rahul. Welcome for the
Hi.
first time to Blockchain e-weekend and to Inblocks events, the events that we do. Rahul Prabhu is a blockchain developer with Matic Network, and Sandeep speaks very highly of him. Sandeep from Matic. So we will hopefully get to see and hear good things from you as well, Rahul. So as we proceed and as the guests keep on coming, and we will surely be going live we are live streaming on YouTube and Facebook. I will just go check whether we're live on Facebook as well. The sessions are going to be impromptu and improvised, and you can always have your questions or to all the guests. So what we'll do is, without wasting time, all right, let's go hop on to our first speaker, which is Apoor Shankar. Apoor, the
Yeah,
stage is all yours.
I'll just
I
share my screen.
Yeah, please share your screen. I will hide myself, and you can keep on going. The other guests, you can always keep yourself on mute. Let the questions keep on coming, guys, from the attendees. If you find some questions, let's ask them. Approve. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, can you see the shared screen?
Yeah, we do, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. So I'll be talking a little bit about evolution of DApps, starting from where it came from, like decentralization, and going way through that where we are standing right now, and how we see what are the potential barriers inside in the adoption, in the user adoption into the DApps, and what kind of applications are being built right now, and how we have to resolve those. Okay, so let's first understand about decentralization. I mean, most of you guys already know about decentralization, but I'll just, start with a sneak peek. So decentralization is a fundamental part of the clever solution that gave us Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin and decentralization, and Bitcoin is the first widely used digital currency. But what made decentralization to come? So talking about 12th century, there used to be Knights Templar, a medieval Catholic military order, and pilgrims used to deposit their belongings or deposit their valuable items like gold with the Knights Templars, and they used to get a receipt in return for that, and they were able to get that receipt to any of the Knight Templar member and get the value of that receipt back. So that was the start of the modern day banking, we can say. But there was centrally controlled by the Knights Templar and everything. So blockchain brings another type of efficiency to those promises by obviating the need for the Knights Templars or any other third party by purely using technology, which is blockchain. The first to use that technology successfully is Bitcoin. Obviously, it allows a simple peer-to-peer value exchange from one account to another, and it I mean, I'm probably have been using Bitcoin. So now decentralization is not something which is just being used on blockchain or cryptocurrencies. Decentralization is widely used in computation. For example, NASA in 1970s, they used a decentralized network of computers to control their flight computers. So if a computer made a mistake, the other computers would override through majority. So decentralization is not just into blockchain and cryptocurrencies. So as Bitcoin was the first use case of first application of decentralized cryptocurrency. So let's see what things Bitcoin can do. Okay. Now, with Bitcoin, you can easily deposit money. I mean, you can have a Bitcoin. You can easily withdraw money from your Bitcoin wallet, easily send from one wallet to another, and perform all this in a decentralized and trustless way. It is really easy to think of Bitcoin as a computer network that can replace your bank. But it is a little trickier to imagine how those complex operations like loans or other things can happen on Bitcoin. So let us approach it from a opposite angle and imagine your bank as a type of computer. It has three instructions basically: deposit your money to your account, withdraw money from your account, and send money from account to account. That is what it executes smart contracts, and it cannot run dApps. Now, imagine if you could give your bank special instructions to accomplish your savings goal. For example, you tell your bank that for the next year, uh, the bank has only to allow a withdrawal of $100 per week and not exceeding that. Or suppose you run a startup and you want to control all the funds. So you make a you I mean tell your bank that the CEO has the full control over the funds and all the accountability of the bank account. But there are two extra people who can uh, do their banking operations on the bank account, but if only if the other one also approves of it. I mean, there can be complex computations can be performed over there. Now, if you think Bitcoin cannot do these operations, right? So these operations are complex in nature and cannot perform on Bitcoin. So it was possible that Bitcoin could evolve into this limitless computer which can perform every single task in a decentralized manner. But the developers at that point of time who were working with Vitalik Buterin they were not receptive to this grand idea, so they decided to build a project upon themselves, and thus Ethereum was conceived in 2014 and launched in 2015 as an extension to the concept of Bitcoin, and it has become massive today. Now, in 2012, when Bitcoin was priced at 7 USD, Vitalik said to Bitcoin Magazine that if Bitcoin is to achieve mainstream success, it cannot stop at the limited crowds of internet geeks, libertarians, and privacy advocates, and that it is hitting ground, and it must find way to attract the mainstream public. And still, dApps are trying to find that way to attract the mainstream public. So, what things are lacking right now? I mean, what things are missing right now? I mean, I have identified a few. I'll talk about those in the coming slides. So, talking about Ethereum now, Ethereum was conceived around 2014 and launched in 2015 to extend the cost of Bitcoin. And Ethereum has its own currency called Ether, just like Bitcoin, but the platform can run any set of instruction and not just send and receive Bitcoin. So, I can uh, give multiple instructions to the platform in form of code that is written in smart contracts, and it can perform those executions and set of instructions. Now, Vitalik Buterin came with the concept of Ethereum. It's called a Turing complete computer engine, which is provided by Ethereum, and it was the first computerized transaction protocol. And computer programs that are run on the Ethereum platform are called smart contracts. It came with 100% decentralization, but the smart contracts is not something which came up with Ethereum. It's been talked about from ages, from 1990s, and it was able to achieve some part of the smart contracts which we're talking about. So let's talk about what are smart contracts. I mean, why is it a contract? So the original idea behind a contract is that it is constituted some kind of agreement between two parties. That's a contract. And what makes it smart? So what makes it smart is that it can execute itself without need of lawyers or people who are involved in the transaction. So Ethereum declared itself a decentralized platform that runs smart contracts. So it generally refers to a software program which can be run on a decentralized infrastructure in a trustless way. And for example, if you write a smart contract to securitize real estate, dividing ownership of a property up to virtual tokens, you still need legal contracts to tie those smart contract tokens to the actual property. That's still a hurdle. I mean, there was a blockchain e-weekend on tokenization. I mean, there was a lot of discussion on this. I think that is available on YouTube. You guys can check that out. Now, moving forward from smart contracts, became dApps. Now, dApps, like it's a, I mean, when a bunch of smart contracts come together, they are receiving data from the user and processing a set of, completing a set of instructions provided by the developers and providing a value addition to the user. It makes it a dApp. Now, decentralized applications are often described as trustless, peer-to-peer, with the distribution characteristic is that no single server or a single entity controlling that entire system. It is being controlled by the all the users which are available on the platform at that particular time. But to understand what really makes a dApp from a centralized application, it is worthwhile considering what goes into a contemporary centralized application. Let's understand that. So a centralized application consists of a UI, which is there through which the users interact. There is a data store or a database where the entire data is being kept, and there is one server which is manipulating and processing the data, which is controlled by either a group of developers or it is controlled by some entity or a single person. Now, overhead, the entire control, what is happening on the application, when what does what, is in control of the entity or the individual who is running that server, who is writing that code on the server and running that. So that becomes difficult, and it's not completely decentralized. Now, what values can dApps add over there? We talk about centralized systems. We talk about entities running an application. Now, if the applications are running in a decentralized environment, what is the value addition to the user? So, the value addition is that it brings transparency. A user can see what is going to happen before executing and after executing what they want to execute. It brings immutability, that nothing can be withdrawn, tampered with, or deleted. And also it adds a very philosophical motivation, that is governance, that the governance can go decentralized. With prior systems, prior to blockchain, transparency and immutability were like in some part or piece were available, but a decentralized governance structure was something which was really lacking. And advent of dApps came with this. Today we see DeFi space and MakerDAO and Compound, and there are like governance structures in place, and it's going really good. So that is what are the value additions to the user. Now, CryptoKitties. Let's take an example of them. Most talked about that. CryptoKitties is one of the famous and most famous decentralized applications out there. It was created as a game where players are able to trade, breed, and collect virtual cats. Now, the uniqueness and the scarcity of the tradable items were the only thing which was propelling CryptoKitties, and the application, the ethos of the application, were not decentralized as such. Now dApps have become more diverse and serving users from multiple verticals. So now let's have a look at what is the current Ethereum dApp ecosystem. As we are building on Ethereum, I'll be talking more about Ethereum. So what is the current equation of the Ethereum dApp ecosystem? So over here you can see that over the year there were a lot of gaming and exchange based use cases in the previously. Gradually finance increased. If you see at the December 19 and November 19, and you compare to December 18 and November 18, the finance bit increased. So the dApps which are focusing more on marketplace models, like in January 18, you can see there were a lot of dApps built on marketplace models. They shrink right now. And the dApps which are built on exchanges, like for example, Kyber Network, there's Uniswap, there's 0x, or your finance, like Compound, Maker, Aave, these dApps are performing now because they have they satisfy the use case, they add value to the users' lives. Now, talking about this is the current Ethereum landscape, the current Ethereum rankings of the dApps which are out there in the market, and the statistics of the users. So just imagine there are more than 2,000 dApps in the market, and there are 46,000 daily active users on those dApps. That brings, and also in that, most of the number of users are concentrated in the top ranking dApps. So if you see the number of users, daily active users of MakerDAO is something 2,000, and then for status it drops to 147, and Chainlink is 2,000, and it drops for your this thing Uniswap to 700 something. So That is kind of variation which is out there. What are the potential barriers? What is stopping users from adopting these dApps? If they're actually adding value to users' life, what is going wrong? So, in my personal opinion, I think experience, adoption, and integration are three potential barriers which users and also developers are facing right now. Now, talking about these barriers, these are the top layer of the barriers, and there are multiple reasons behind these barriers. So let's talk about them. Those things are really important. So why those barriers exist is, first thing is the consistency with laws. So now, in the land of, in the jurisdiction the app is being developed, there are laws in place, and the developers have to comply with them. And in India, for example, there was a time there was uncertainty that we can build from India or not. We are using Ethereum for making those smart contracts deploy. Can we do that or not? So there were a lot of things over there. So that stops like 50% of the developers from jumping into building dApps. And the second thing is reliability of data. So now on blockchain, which the data which is being generated on blockchain, the transactional data, is reliable because it's totally immutable. But for a dApp to function, or for example a weather dApp or any other kind of dApp to function, they need data from the outside world. And when some data which is coming from outside world to onto the blockchain, that data is not reliable. There are good projects like Chainlink working on that, but still there needs to be, that problem needs to be solved in a much broader way. And the third thing is transaction throughput. This has been in talked about from 2016. From the advent of ICOs, everyone used to talk about transaction throughput. So transaction throughput is basically how many transactions can the blockchain process in a particular amount of time. So that is really less for Ethereum. That creates like network congestions. So that needs to be solved. Matic is doing a great work in solving that transaction throughput problem on Ethereum. Then comes computational cost. Gas fees. Obviously, everyone who is building on Ethereum knows the pain of the computational cost, which is called the gas fees, which comes with it, and what kind of things it can create. And when you will think that the gas fees is really low for a particular transaction, you put it out there, and then the network congests, and then you see that exactly the cost is hiking a lot, and the entire model just drops down. That is there. Then data storage. Blockchain cannot store a lot of data. It's just to store your transactional data. So apart from that, what things can happen over there? That is a issue. Then user onboarding. Now, talking about onboarding general public, talking about onboarding people who don't know about blockchain, they just need to they just need to use something. They just need to add value to their lives. Now, the first thing they have to create is a wallet. Then they need to understand private key management. They need to understand what is transaction signing. They need to understand what is fees. There are so many technical jargons bombarded to a user who's just looking for a value addition, nothing else, that the user leaves. That is a very big roadblock for user adoption into dApps. Then there comes developer tools. So already a lot of work is being going on regarding building developer tools, but on Ethereum there are multiple developer tools available. On Tezos there are multiple developer tools available, but talking about all the platforms, the developer tools ecosystem is not that ready for developers to adopt. Also, developers who have been building on non-blockchain ecosystems, and they want to build something on blockchain, it takes them like weeks to understand exactly what is going on, and then months to implement. And then comes audit and security. So when you deploy a smart contract, it's there now. It's immutable. You cannot change it. And if there is a security loophole or something, some functional or some computational bug over there, it can amount up in losses of millions. It has happened in this year itself, and it can happen again. So that is also an issue. And there are things which are happening. People are trying to resolve all these issues. So I've summed up a list of system players who are trying to solve issues over here. So I'll just give a shout out to them. So Matic is trying to do really well with scalability. Biconomy is giving gasless transactions. So for example, you're creating a dApp, you don't need to ask the user to pay the fees. Portis is helping in user onboarding. InstaDapp is making it easier for people to use DeFi by their spells. Kyber Network has created a great UI for using decentralized exchanges, and they're providing amazing development tools also. MetaMask is coming out with a mobile application which is going to make it really easy for you to, I'm not been able to, sum everyone up. Just a few. And Dharma is, making it easier for people to open a savings bank account in crypto. We at InBlocksMe, we are trying to, solve the entire puzzle by creating an entire ecosystem where every single tool for user onboarding is available. So from getting the user an identity to getting the user gasless transaction, managing the user's private key in a 100% non-custodial way through a virtual hardware security module, and also advanced securities through hardware security modules, and then offering this entire solution in a composite SDK. So a developer just needs to put 2 lines of code, and they can use the entire functionality of onboarding a user and managing the user for the lifetime inside their dApp. And then Trueful is there obviously for all the development purposes. So things are going on, and I hope that there will be amazing products coming in the market in the future, which will help this adoption, which drive the adoption further, and make the billion users come onto blockchain. Yeah, that's all from my side. Thanks. You can reach out to me on Twitter at this _.
Great. Thank you, Apurv. If you can unshare
Yeah.
your screen, and then we can move forward. Thank you very
Yeah, I have
much.
a question.
Fantastic,
Can,
actually.
can I ask a question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so you talked mainly about Ethereum, and you also mentioned immutability,
Yeah.
and immutability doesn't really exist on Ethereum, right?
Immutability doesn't exist on Ethereum.
Well,
So
when one of the biggest hacks happened, the DAO hack,
yeah,
it just forked.
yeah.
So yeah, go on.
See, there are things which has happened in the past. We are growing from there, right? I'm not saying Ethereum is a complete ecosystem and it can offer you everything it has. I'm just saying that this is what is out there. You can start building from there, and if you find loopholes, if you find problems, you have to solve them. That is what we are talking about over here,
Yeah,
right? We are trying to solve those problems, right?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm trolling. Who said? Someone in the chat says that I'm trolling. No, man, I'm serious. I
No,
can
we are
start
serious.
my talk now. Nice intro.
Yeah. No, I think.
Sorry.
No. So the idea basically, I think. Thanks, Apurv. I think a lot of things have been
Yeah.
covered. I think the next session probably is what I'm looking forward to understanding from Bernd as well. Bernd, your perspectives on the evolution of DApps and where we're coming from, we're going, and where are we seeing ourselves going? And because you have a perspective of Tezos, so probably you could have a little more understanding on that as well. Please, all yours.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, to continue on the message in the chat of that I'm trolling. Well, let me tell you my story of how I started with blockchain. I started with Bitcoin and then Ethereum came, so I was super excited about Ethereum. And I started building stuff as well. And eventually the first ICO started on Ethereum, the DAO, and I was excited to be part of that. And I bought in, and then a few days later, the smart contract was being drained. So by that event, I had lost my trust in Ethereum, and as a customer, not as an enthusiast. So we have seen in the last years, every few months, something like that happens, like millions of dollars are lost. And when you have real users, like regular users, when that happens one time, you are never going to get them back. So from my perspective, I don't think the ecosystem is ready yet on Ethereum. And so let me circle back a bit. So I lost my trust in Ethereum. So I was looking for another blockchain platform that might be more secure, that had better smart contracts, a better system in place for on-chain governance. And then I found out about Tezos. And I immediately became a fan, because in the white paper that was published in 2014, it was already it was already describing the problems that Ethereum was going to have. So the security of the smart contracts, the problem of upgrading, no governance system in place. So I became enthusiastic about Tezos, and when I started my own company together with Malvia, we decided to build on Tezos because of its added security. And since then, we started with building a micro insurance platform, but the ecosystem on Tezos is just not ready yet. Ethereum is way ahead. And we've seen that in the last year that Ethereum is growing immensely and Tezos lags still a bit. But then we decided, okay, let's fill that gap ourselves and also start developing developer tools so that the ecosystem can grow on Tezos. And yeah, Ethereum is bigger. It has a lot of dApps. But I still think that the game is not over yet. I agree it will be a winner takes all. But I think we're still in the stages of testing and playing around with applications, and Ethereum is great for that. But when we take a next step in serious financial products on a blockchain, you need to have a blockchain like Tezos in place to facilitate that. And yeah, so that's why I'm a big fan of Tezos for dApps. I agree the ecosystem is not there yet, but we're working very hard to get the ecosystem on the level of Ethereum and beyond that. And yeah, so if you are excited about Tezos, join the ecosystem. It's still early, so there's still a lot of room for you to take your place and grow together with Tezos blockchain. So that was my piece. Any question?
Any questions for? So you can raise your hands if you have any direct questions for Bernd here. Else, you know,
Yeah,
we'll probably
yeah.
do his yeah.
Here it says in the chat, the mutability has been good for you. They have saved your funds, but there you lose the entire decentralization story. It's your own responsibility to manage your funds, and if you need the lead developers of a blockchain to save your funds, then you can just take that bank account at a bank. And another comment: XTC is great, but ETH won. Yeah, so I disagree. The game has not been played completely yet. I think we're still in the first 10 minutes of the game.
All right. So yeah. So we are still in the first 10 minutes of the game, and we are 30 minutes out. And I was thinking, Bernd, if we could, hold on to the questions from the audience. We'll have several questions already coming in. We will take all the questions together with all the panelists, all the speakers at the end. So last 15 minutes we can spend there. I would like to give the stage on to Rahul now. Rahul, would love to hear your perspectives on the theme that we've chosen today, evolution of dApps, and do touch base as well as to how Matic is supporting the dApp development and where is the future of the evolution of dApps happening and how we're taking it forward. Okay, all yours.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll just share my screen. Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah, it's visible, right? Okay, fine. So about the evolution of the apps. Okay, I'll just give my intro. Actually, my name is Rahul, and I'm from Matic Network. So I'm working as a blockchain developer there, and mostly I'm in the DApp team, helping other DApp developers to build on the Matic network, and also side by side doing some research on finding correct applications so that it will be more supportive to the DApp developers on Matic. So there are already some applications on Ethereum. So that is the plan. Actually, I am doing some research on bringing them onto Matic and also finding new ideas, innovative ideas to expand the DApp community. Okay, and okay, I'll then just go on then. It's audible, right? So yeah, so I'll start from here. The blockchain revolution, it started from the invention of Bitcoin, as you know. So Bitcoin was it was mainly for value transfer, and yeah, as Apur said, it did not support smart contracts, and then came Ethereum. So Ethereum gave birth to smart contracts, and then came dApps to the market. And the thing is, like Apur said, dApps are mainly they cover they bring decentralization. So that means that there is no single point of failure. There are many connected nodes, and thing which is hosted there. If one of the nodes come down, then the other nodes are not affected. So that is basically what dApps do. So instead of putting the whole application in a server, in a backend server, it is maintained on a multiple nodes. So that is one advantage we have here. And then dApps do have trade-offs, but what my perspective is, they can be overcome actually, and I'll go on in the upcoming slides on what we have to do for that. And then I'll just compare the evolution of dApps with the mobile app evolution. So currently they are like very much lot of distance is there between both of them, but still I'll just quickly go through this. So as you can see, the mobile apps, they came back in 1994. So back then they weren't called applications, actually they were called like features of a mobile phone. And then came the first iPhone. Then iPhone brought in the app development kit for the developers, and then came like a lot of applications, 500 more than that applications started coming. And then came Android. And then what happens is, this is my point actually, along with all this hardware platforms and supportive tools, everything we're building along with this actually. So this is the thing we have to note actually. Whatever technology is it, for it to grow, the other supportive tools and the community, everything has to grow along with that. And we have to focus on that thing. Okay. And then the next thing, the current statistics. So this is another thing I want to say. The current statistics of dApps is like very less dApps are successful, like comparing the total number of dApps. So what happens is, in the total number of dApps, many are currently not active actually, and many dApps which had a particular roadmap, they couldn't stick to it also. Another thing is, like, majority, if you see in the dApp stats, you will see that majority are exchanges, games, and other like just one or two other categories. So that is how it is now currently. And if you take the example of Insta app also, you can see that the majority of the users, they are like very less number of users, and they hold the most of the amount of funds actually. Other majority number of users, they just don't, means they hold very less funds in the Insta app. So what I meant is, yeah, the minority users hold the major funds, and the majority people, they are very contribute very less funds actually. So this is what is happening actually. The other dApps actually, they have fallen back, and yeah, that also there are some reasons actually. So I'll just go ahead with the problems faced by dApps. So the thing is, when compared to applications, so here we want to see what our centralized applications offer actually. They always offer awesome UX, this speed, performance, and usability, everything is good there. So the thing is, the only problem is data security and data privacy. That is what they couldn't offer properly, and that is why this many of the people are moving on to dApps actually. So that is the one problem with apps, and dApp is covering that problem by default actually. Decentralized world, and the blockchain is covering data privacy and everything by default, but scalability is an issue actually. And scalability is an issue, also speed, and many developer tools are also missing. So we have to overcome this thing. And there are also many misconceptions actually, like one thing is cost. So what I want to like highlight is, if you are setting up an application, you are hosting it on a some server, like anyway DigitalOcean, AWS, you are going to pay for hosting it actually. So why not invest some amount on, on an application which is hosted on blockchain? But again, the users won't like paying the amount. So obviously the DApp developers or whichever organization it is, they can pay the they can pay the price for using the application instead of the users. So that is one thing we can do. And yeah, and the next thing I want to highlight here is the limitations also of the mainly I would like to speak about the tools, actually, the developer tools. So this is one thing which I feel which is lacking the most. Actually, there are many tools, but still there is no, like, for example, you can take the example of Firebase. So there is no Firebase for this Web 3.0, for the DApp world, actually, like a place where everything is available, decentralized database, everything in one place, which is easily available to the developers. So only if we understand the problem of the DApp, before understanding the problem of the decentralized applications, we have to see what the apps already offer, and we should make sure that that is not being removed when we build this decentralized application. So we should take care of both the things, actually. So that is what is needed for the exact expansion of the application. So yeah, I'll just go ahead with the solution that I feel is right. One thing is sidechain. Sidechain is one of the solutions. So like Matic is an example of a sidechain. So I'll just explain very shortly what is a sidechain. So basically, it is a Matic. Matic is a two-layer solution built on Plasma contracts. So it is just a similar blockchain to Ethereum. Whatever things you run on Ethereum, you can run on Matic sidechain also. So it is also supports EVM, everything. The only thing is Matic has been able to cut the cost, and also it has improved the speed drastically. So this has solved a lot of problems which I discussed before, actually, which Ethereum couldn't solve, actually. As some of you might be knowing, when CryptoKitties, they reached their peak, their transactions got so high that due to overload, the Ethereum, it got very congested, actually. So that is one thing, actually, that also comes under the problem. Denial of service should not be there. Like everything should run smoothly. So sidechain is one thing. And coming to cost being paid by the user, we can depend on meta transactions. Yeah, like Apur said, Bioeconomy is there, and so we should use meta transaction, actually. Some people who are not aware of this should like get to know about this, and this should always be brought to the application, decentralized application. And then another thing is UX should be primary focus, because we should give the user a reason to come to the decentralized application, actually. Okay, the user already has a reason. Data privacy, security already is there. They know decentralized applications offer all this, but we should offer better user experience also. And for offering all this to the user, we should first focus on the developer experience. That is another thing. For the developer experience, that is what I want to say. We should have a platform, actually. We should take an initiative and build a platform which offers everything similar to what Firebase offers, and many other initiatives are there already for the centralized applications. So this is one thing I want to say. And yeah, and some people have a misconception that like contracts are immutable. Yeah, okay, once you deploy the contracts, smart contracts, you cannot change them, but you can always upgrade them. There is a feature for this. So this is what I have seen some people complaining this, actually. How can you change the code once you already deploy it on the blockchain, and all those things, actually. So yeah, finally what I would like to conclude is dApps are in the child stage, but they do have evolved a lot, actually. So if the problems which I mentioned are, like, we as a dApp community, if we overcome all of that, you can surely increase the pace at which we are involving, actually. So this is one initiative which I saw. It is dApp Kit. So if you guys go to dApp Kit, you can see the initiative. It's a pretty good initiative, actually. You're trying to bring together everything, all the applications needed for a blockchain, this decentralized application development. And Yeah. So and again, when comparing to this 2018 statistics, when I see that 2020 has improved a lot. Actually, if you go to DApp status website and all, you'll be able to see. So yeah, that is my take on evolution of dApps. These problems will overcome, and yeah, there is a huge future actually. So similar to how the mobile apps they evolved, the blockchain decentralized applications are also going to evolve. But we are very in the very means beginning of the journey, so there is yet to go. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Rahul. You just need to unshare your screen so that we can all go back to our normal side of the screen. Yeah.
Okay, I've already unshared, I think.
No, you have to click on the
Okay, 1 second.
button below. Yeah.
Is it okay now?
Just a minute. Let me refresh my screen to see if it is perspective in short. Okay. Two of them really spoke about how things are happening, and a very detailed stuff from Apoorv and Rahul. Very detailed discussion on what exactly is the journey of DApp been and how this works. Okay, so these guys are keeping going on and off the stage because of the internet, I believe. So maybe he has to come back on, but doesn't matter. So
I'm
there are a
here.
lot of questions. Yeah,
Can I have a
Burn.
question? Can I ask a question?
Yeah, Burn. Please, by all means, yeah.
Yeah, so the CryptoKitty example is being used quite often,
Uh-huh.
and I'm just what part of CryptoKitties is really decentralized? It's only the token, right? It's only the non-fungible token that's really decentralized. The rest is centralized. If
Right.
they don't hold their CryptoKitties application, it doesn't show. If they decide to take down the website, you can't do anything with your non-fungible token. It's nothing.
Yeah.
So what is really decentralized about dApps, or should we just call them blockchain apps? Because only a tiny, mini part of it is decentralized.
Yeah. Okay. Good question. I mean, Apoorv, would you like to take them? Apoorv, Rahul, all yours. I can, of course, be the answer, but I'm the host.
Yeah.
Yeah, Raoul.
Okay.
Raoul.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, yeah,
Apoorv is also good.
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
see, I agree with. Even I said about CryptoKitties, the ethos of the application were not at all decentralized; they were totally centralized. But if you look at like the kind of dApps which are being built right now, so for example, I'll just take example of Kyber. Okay, so it doesn't matter that Kyber's website exists or not, or the Kyber functions, I mean, exist or not on the front end. Kyber contracts will always be there.
Mhm.
As I mean, till the time there are the people who are using Kyber for their for decentralized exchange, they can do that. I mean, they can build on top of Web3. You don't require the Kyber interface. You just require the Kyber smart contract, which is already deployed over there, right? So, for
Mhm.
example, look at ENS or look at like our service in Blocks Me identification service. So, what we have, the smart contracts are out there. We do. I mean, even we don't exist, anyone can come and use a smart contract and use that identity wallet feature. That is what makes a dApp a dApp. Not, I mean, if you're exposing a dApp onto a website and that website is centrally controlling everything, and if the website goes down, the dApp goes down. I won't call that a dApp.
Okay, cool.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so there are indeed a lot of questions which have come in, and I'm pretty happy. There's somebody. So there's a friend of mine, Shahabuddin, who is the CEO of Human Star. Welcome, Shahab. It's good to see you here. Now he's asking a question which says that is it possible to define shareholder agreement with smart contract? If it is, then how do we use it? I think it's not really dApps as such. It's more to do with smart contracts. But I think I'll take this question and probably pose it to all three of you. I mean, one of you can answer. Maybe Apoorv we can answer. Is it possible to define shareholder agreement with smart contract?
So I would I mean, say something about it. Then I'll like Burn to add a lot to it because Tezos is doing a lot of things onto the tokenization and things. So
Mm-hmm.
see, building a smart shareholder agreement on a smart contract, you can do that. But complying that smart contract with the land of the law, that is the real challenge. Okay, the technology creating the smart contract, you can write a smart contract, put the shareholding pattern over there, give tokens instead of shares. But will that be valid in eyes of the law? That is the question. and that makes what a shareholding agreement. Else, it's just a piece of paper, right? So, I mean, if it is complying with the law, then it can.
Yeah, I would love to add to that maybe the Ether Vitalik already confessed to this as well. The term smart contract was maybe poorly chosen because it's just code on the blockchain, and a shareholder agreement. Yeah, it's a legal binding agreement, and a smart contract is not. But you see stuff happening in tokenization. On Tezos, you have a few real estate projects who are tokenizing billions worth of real estate in Thailand, where you can buy chunks, tiny pieces of buildings through Tezos smart contracts. So you can have partial ownership, but it's still at the beginning. It's not there yet, and to really define an agreement letter to letter in a smart contract, I don't think we're going that direction.
Okay, so I hope Shahab gets the answer from this thing. But yeah, I think the biggest issue which I have been noticing, though I went through a couple of documents and a couple of reports which came out in the open, was about the not about the adoption, but about the volumes of transactions happening all across the world. And one of the volumes said on June 21st, the largest transaction happened in the history of DApps, or history of the or DeFi, if I may say so, and it was about 988 million, almost $1 billion. All right, but what I'm still finding is, that there are so many protocols which are there. How do we assess which protocol is the best to start doing a DApp development or not? Each of you have been using different platforms, and you will have your biases, of course. But if I want you to look at an unbiased opinion, and look at other problems as such, about adoption, about scalability and performance, which do you think fits best right now, okay, for DApp development?
I think it's for all some of the platforms are just scams. You don't need to look at them. But there are a few that are interesting, like Ethereum and Tezos. There are a few more layer one blockchains out there that are interesting, but we can't say yet because we've seen in last year how fast the ecosystem evolves. It can be completely different a year from now. So if someone says that they know how the ecosystem is going to look like in a year, they're lying, because we don't know.
Apurv, anything on your side?
Yeah, I mean, I rightly said that, Burn. I mean, choosing what exactly to build upon, and I mean, how fast the things change. I mean, while we are talking, if we have the same conversation 6 months down the line, things would have changed, right? So we cannot term that, but yes, I mean, developers, the people who are looking forward at building dApps and looking forward at, I mean, creating that kind of validation for the user, they can start from any blockchain that suits their requirement, like Tezos, Ethereum, US. They can choose the blockchain according to the requirements. Is that, I mean, uh, scalability happening? If they need that kind of transaction throughput, is it there? If those things are satisfying, they can start building over anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, what you've seen in for example, Ethereum is more of like the startup
Yes.
fintech movement, and you see bigger corporates and banks. You see them moving towards Tezos more. So the ecosystem is still moving. So we don't know.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I think the movement. I think it is more dependent on the kind of problem that you're trying to solve, and then
Yes.
try to align
Right.
those your thoughts in, and finding out, okay, which of the features really help me or not. All right,
Yeah.
and there has to be some precedence as well. For example, if maybe hunt the GitHub of that particular application or the particular platform, and find out whether something or the other has been done which I can adopt and I can adapt easily to. I think it's also important to see some sort of traction in a system already built in. Then only we can create something more tractionable, more adoptable, right? Cool.
Yeah.
And one issue which I've seen in all your presentations, Apoorv as well, and then Rahul, is based on something called the user experience, the UX. Okay, and Ayush Ranjan also asked this question. Okay, he's the marketer with BMO or BIMO. Okay, BMO maybe. So he says, is UX the biggest bottleneck of user adoption in DApps? I mean, does it come across as the biggest bottleneck in adoption? Yeah.
So, can I take this up?
Yeah, please, yeah.
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 So I'll just ask a simple question. Imagine an application which does X thing. Okay, and there are two applications. One which is really easy to use. One which where you have to learn 10 things before using that application. Where will you go?
Mm-hmm.
The one which is simpler to use, right? So that is what is happening right now. For you to use dApps, you have to learn 10 things previously. You have to understand what are wallets, exactly what are transactions, what is fees, how exactly to make a transaction, how to keep a private key safe. And that piece is creating, that is also a value addition for the user. It is providing privacy, it's providing anonymity, it's providing security, but also it's creating a barrier in the experience. So from my perspective, it is one of the most barriers over there.
Okay. Bernd, you have anything to say on that? Bernd, Rahul, anything to say on that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Apoorv on this. User experience is super important, but there are many things that still need to be fixed. And the point that I almost always try to make is that the layer one needs to be programmed right. So I don't want to be like a pioneer for Tezos the entire talk, but Ethereum, for example, doesn't have like a formal system in place to upgrade. So what Tezos aims to do is be the blockchain, be the last blockchain. So they have a system in place that facilitates upgradability, upgradability. So you can upgrade the blockchain on chain, and so it's ready for the future, because we don't know how the blockchain in the future must look like. And we've seen with Ethereum, to go to Ethereum 2.0, it takes years to implement a change. And when this ecosystem is changing so rapidly, I don't know if Ethereum is still going to be relevant in a few years if the upgrade process is so immensely slow.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So exciting times.
Yeah. See, I think as a user, I probably look at the fact that, hey, is it something very easy to use? So ease of use is something which is paramount to some people. Some people think, for a person who's into technology, he will say that, hey, I would look at, a proper transit throughput, the scalability, the security layer, and all that stuff. Okay. So that is what people. So I think there are different, thought lines when it comes to either making things or adopting things. So yeah, I think user experience could be a bottleneck, but it is not the only one and not the first top priority of people. Okay, good. A direct question to Rahul. Ayush is asking, is React versus Flutter? What do you think is better for building dApps? It's a direct question to you, Rahul.
Okay, right, yeah. So React versus Flutter, I have no experience actually using that, but I have heard it's good actually, and React also I have used. So what I think is currently for developing dApps, this React or Flutter, it doesn't have any direct dependency actually. Whatever is your choice, whatever you are comfortable, you can choose. Means according to your resources, you can choose which one you want to go with. So that is my take on that. Yeah.
Something which you're comfortable with. Okay, Ayush, whatever you're comfortable with and makes sense for the project or dApp you're trying to build. All right, because I'm sure each and every technology which is coming up as well has certain advantages, pros and cons on creating a particular solution as well. So you'll have to identify that. If I'm correct, I'm not a technologist, but I can understand it that way. So that is what you need to do. Some questions on technology, and as well as a very good question on marketing and advertising, and I think this can be addressed by our experienced people here. How can dApps bring in value to marketing and advertising world? Because
Shantanu, can I still go back to the previous question about Flutter? Because I would love to say something about that.
Yeah. Okay, we'll come back to this question again. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So we decided to use Flutter for the dApp that we're building because of its performance. Performance is way better than React, and it also performs really well on old phones. What we've seen in the last years is that people are really trying to focus on banking the unbanked, people who don't have access to banks. They have mobile phones, but they're not the best mobile phones, so your app needs to run fluently on an old phone. So that's why we decided to use Flutter, but there was no library for Tezos on Flutter, so we developed that open source library for Flutter on Tezos. So if you want to start developing on Tezos, shoot me a message. We have the Flutter library for you available.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, great. I think so. Ayush, you have your answer there. So one answer was Rahul saying that you can use whatever is you're comfortable with, but as Bern said that there are certain old phones which do not work well with React. So that's where Flutter comes in, and they've already developed a library where you can work if you want to work on Tezos. Thanks, Bern. I think it's fantastic input. Now I'll come back to the question which is asked by Kriti Pachori. He's marketing Kriti, I think, marketing manager. So okay, so how can dApps bring in value to marketing and advertising world? Because the industry is totally dependent on applications that are third-party control. So I think it's more to do with decentralizing the marketing and advertising as well, using the application architecture that people build. So is it really possible? I mean, can a dApp bring advertising and marketing into a decentralized platform? I mean, how do we do that? Yeah, anyone? You want to read the question, you can always read the question and understand. How can dApps bring in value to marketing and advertising world? Because the industry is totally dependent on applications that are third party controlled. So right now, for example, let's talk about Google, right? Google controls the advertising on Google. So can we build something else on that?
I mean, I'd like to add few things to it. So I mean, there are a lot of products out there which are helping the advertising industry. For example, influencer marketing. If I look at that, so right now there were applications which were like taking some commission. There were influencers coming on the platform. There were brands who need to advertise, and they bundle up the entire thing and give to the influencers, and the
Okay.
platform takes like some credit and some commission on top of it.
Okay.
And now there are decentralized platforms coming over there which are directly collaborating with the influencers, and
Mhm.
the things that happen directly without involving the third party over there, and the proof of the advertisement or the proof of things are relayed back to this platform.
Mhm.
So, but adoption is not seen over there. I mean, obviously their apps are built, but I mean, there's no adoption over there, and they're really
Yeah.
less
Yeah.
influencers. Also, on Brave browser, you can earn bad coins by looking
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
it. So that is also a use case on top of this.
True, true, true. In fact, one of the reports that I was mentioning has also mentioned that the basic attention token or BAT token
Yeah.
has seen a huge amount of adoption in the
Yes.
last
Yeah.
2 3 quarters, and there is a huge churn of BAT mining happening because
Yeah.
people are just viewing it, and that's exactly where BAT has or Brave browser has been successful. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's also one of the most staked, token on the multiple DeFi protocols. So yes,
yeah,
you can see
yeah,
from there.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Then of course, there is Steemit. I mean, if you're looking at social media coins like Steemit, where you can mine a lot of things as well. Because used to write on Steam, so I understand. So cool. Yeah. So I think we're end of our entire thing. There are a lot of questions again. If you guys want to stick around and interact with our attendees, the attendees can stay back and join one of those. The tables are outside and meet with our speakers. And if you have any specific questions, because there are some questions directed to Apoorv here on Hedera Hash.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll answer that. Yeah.
You also
Yeah.
answer that? Yeah. Okay. Please go ahead. Please go ahead. So he says both Bitcoin and Ethereum are on blockchain approach. Doesn't a DLT like Hedera Hash Graph be more efficient and secure as a way forward?
So
And the question is to the entire panel, in fact.
yeah. So see,
Okay,
I
Apoorv
mean,
has just vanished. He's back. Apoorv, we missed you
okay.
for 5 seconds, I think.
I'll start again.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
I'll repeat the same thing which I said before. It depends on the use case what you're trying to build. I mean, if you just need to send cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin is the best. You don't need to, go any further. And if you want like really complex applications, and if you want like upgradability and things, Tezos is the option. So it depends what kind of use case you are building on. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a very subjective question. So let's hear the views. Do you have anything to say about it?
I don't know if Hedera Hashgraph is open source completely. In my memory, it was.
It's not completely open
No,
source.
it's not completely open source. Okay, yeah. So for entrepreneurs, it stops there already. I believe, because you want stuff that's open source, because otherwise you can just use a centralized system. It is a centralized system because they have a piece of code that you don't know what it does. So it's tricky to build on blockchains like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. So again, it's all about perspectives. It's all about what are you making, what is the problem you're trying to solve, and whether the technology that you are trying to utilize, you know, solve that problem or not, and whether it's easy to not only make sure that you build the software on an application, but also be able to ensure the user security, the scalability, the performance, and of course, as you said, user experience, and increase adoption. If somebody
Can
finds
I ask a question about basic attention token? It's cool that it works, but was the token necessary?
That
yeah,
question I can ask to a lot of projects,
Yeah, but,
and
yeah.
always there will be subjective views around it.
but
So,
the token is not per se necessary, because you could have done it with ETH. Just pay rewards with the ETH token, with the native Ethereum token.
Yeah.
but
And
I think, yeah. Tell me, please go ahead.
yeah, it's you could have monitored those tokens on a central database. It doesn't really matter. Why does it have to be on Ethereum to have those tokens spread out? It just doesn't make sense to make it a token on Ethereum, while everything you need is already on Ethereum in the form of ETH.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like a money grab.
Okay, I mean, as long as somebody has a Brave browser and he starts making bad tokens just because he's viewing a notification coming, that's how it works. So
Yeah,
all that
yeah,
you need is a notification, and you get paid in bat.
yeah.
And
But you can save like coins on Zomato as well, right? That's not on a blockchain. It's just of Zomato. They have
yeah,
they have your points. So why is the bad token on Ethereum?
yeah. So good question. I think probably this is something which you have to mull over and find out. I don't have the answer. I'm happy enjoying getting bat and making money out of it if required.
Yeah, yeah, of
Right,
course.
as a user, right? Because see, at the end of it, it makes sense to people who say, "Hey, I have a Brave browser, all right, supposedly decentralized. I am looking at advertisements of somebody else, and I get paid, and because BAT is available freely to trade on various exchanges, whatever I make, I can easily make some money out of it. So I think it's more to do with people getting um, the rewards for being part and parcel of the entire ecosystem. Not everybody can be. So when I talk about basic attention token through a browser, if I'm able to get the attention, I grab the attention, then every consumer becomes part and parcel of the ecosystem. Not only the technologists or those people who understand Ethereum, because right now even the basic attention tokens wallet is very easy to use. All right, it's available on the browser itself. All that you need to do is go there, and a simple recovery process is available. So what makes it easy to use is easily adoptable. So people who use Brave browser and want some basic attention token, they are available to you. So it's more consumer driven. It's more expansive rather than keeping it limited to those people who only understand and know how to use MetaMask. Right? That's what I believe. That's my
Yeah,
perspective. Sure.
yeah. I definitely am on the same side with the vision, but
Yeah,
the
we can
implementation
continue
is still a bit doubtful for me.
Yeah. Okay. So we can continue debating about this. I think this is fantastic stuff. Thank you very much for all of you. we are way beyond time. It is about 5-6 minutes about time, and there are some questions. If you want to take these questions, the audience, if you want to stay back and interact with our speakers, they will. I'll request them to hang around for a while in the social lounge and maybe ask you questions if required. I would like to end the session with a great thankful note to Apoorv, Bern, and Rahul for spending your time on a Saturday evening. And thanks to all the audience attendees who came today. It was wonderful having you guys, and thank you very much. Next weekend we'll be back again with another, another episode or another vision that we have of a theme, and we'll keep you informed about what it is all about. Thank you very much. Have a good day. The speakers, when I say end session, you'll be at the back end. So please, let's meet at the